This can be the thumbnail. I probably have like mealybugs all over my face.
Ah!
Hello everyone. A special guest here with me today is Chandler.
It's Chandler! Hey, Chandler!
Well, look who made her way into my home.
I skittered in like a rat.
She's here.
I'm here, and it was just as magical as I thought it would be. It's a great day. It's been a great day.
It is a good day. It's Friday. Friday's like our magical day.
TGIF, huh?
Oh, made it to the end of the week. Ready for the weekend?
Man. Are we delirious already?
Yeah.
We just started.
We've just filmed Charmaine's video,
Which was like 7 hours long.
It was very long, and we drank like 5 beverages each. We've been going to the washroom non-stop.
We just had a hot dog.
Yeah, we just had a hot dog, and we're gonna go for noodles after this. Let me get all this stuff out of the frame. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
She's stressed.
This is how much I prepare for filming a video.
Yeah.
So today is a video that's been in the works for a long time. I asked you guys to send me pictures of sad plant photos to talk about, potentially try to diagnose issues, and offer advice, and then it just kind of, I forgot about it. And then we decided to do a last minute collab before we go away on vacation, because whenever we do a collab, fun fact, they're the easiest videos to edit.
So easy.
So easy. It's like I just like basically watch through it and then export it.
Yeah.
Like that's
it.
How fast it is. So it's really good because we're on a time crunch, and then now we have Charmaine to help diagnose the sad plant photos. I have 9 in my album right now. I think we can get through all of them.
I think so too.
Yeah, a lot of them are Anthuriums.
Oh,
the
gosh.
vast majority of them are
God.
Anthuriums. I don't know if it's because Anthuriums are a problem plant for a lot of people, or because people associate me with Anthuriums. Could be either of those
true.
two. We're gonna get started. She has not seen the photos yet. There's at least one that I feel like I need a bit of a second opinion, because I don't really know. Where am I gonna put the photos? Right in the middle? Okay.
Let me scooch.
Scooch. This is actually my living room, if you guys were curious what my living room looked like.
She needs to film here more often, because I always tell her you need to show your shelf more.
It's because you wanted to see more of my house to put in your mental map.
Listen, okay?
Okay, and also everyone's gonna be anonymous. And also one other thing, I get a lot of questions for like advice anyways in my DMs. If you didn't send me this with the intention of being in this video, you're anonymous anyways, but I guess, sorry if this wasn't the intention to send me the but if it happened around that time, I just assumed it was for this video. A Clarinervium.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's the problem, because it's a clear.
It's that like step 1.
There's your issue.
That's the issue. Okay, let me read this to you. She used to have more leaves, but they all got the same brown spots that this leaf has. Yellowed, and then I eventually cut them off. It's in no drainage with just leca and sphagnum moss. Sits in a south-facing window with filtered indirect light. Always in 65 to 75% humidity. Only watered when there isn't any moisture at the bottom of the vessel, with liquid dirt mixed in with distilled water. She gave me a new leaf, as you can see, but I'm scared it will develop those same brown spots and die. Is it a fungal or bacterial issue? Also said she loves our videos and your long ones so much.
Thank you.
So this is the plant. Okay, so this looks like edema, maybe?
Yeah.
So we're looking just at like the edges of the leaf, where the color of the leaf drastically changes to that yellow. So it's not like a yellowing where it's kind of like a mottled fade, and it's like a very defined line, which is why I feel like it's edema here.
Yeah. I'm inclined to think that it might have something also to do with the temperature, because it's in a south-facing window, right? South-facing window.
But also they're like endemic to Mexico, aren't they?
It's true, but my Clarinervium has done so much better in lower temperatures
Oh, interesting.
than in the plant room.
Mine got thrown out. I can't tell if this is a dead root or one of those like sphagnum moss straggler pieces. Oh, there's a big juicy root
Yeah,
here.
the roots, I don't think the roots are the issue, because even if there are some dead roots, like it's clearly, you know, figuring itself out. No drainage. She waters when it's thirsty.
When there's no more water left in
that's
the
it.
reservoir. there isn't any moisture at the bottom of the vessel.
I would say that that's fine, but maybe not in moss.
But here's the thing, like we both struggle severely with Clarinervium. The best I ever grew mine was in the pond, and it was like pure pond. I never tried a chunkier pond than that. Yours is in...
Mine's in soil.
Soil.
And the one in soil is doing really well. I water it very, very deeply, but I do let a short period go where there is sort of a drier
period.
Mm-hmm. But I have mine with drainage holes because I was so scared of Clarinervium. I use no drainage for plants that I feel comfortable with, that I feel like understand and I know. The Clarinervium is not one of those. So, and because my friend said to treat it like a succulent and give it like a really deep watering, my immediate thought was like, okay, I'm going to use drainage holes because I want to let it like run through. I want to get it nice and
then like a deep soak.
So
after.
My only recommendation is to get it out of moss. If it's already in moss and it's got those nice roots, I would do leca down at the bottom and a soil mix and see if that helps, because I tried growing Clarinervium in moss. Freaking hated it. Hated it so much.
I find this plant really difficult, but this like kind of pale white does look like some sort of fungal issue of probably, my guess is that it's probably more moisture than the clary wants, being kind of like an arid plant, more arid than like deep tropical.
Yeah.
And it's holding on too much moisture. The edema might lead to fungal issues in the leaf. But that said, neither of us grow claries like brilliantly.
Yeah.
So that's my best guess by looking at just what's on the leaf.
Take what we say with a grain of salt.
But this brown spot could be just tissue die-off from like cells bursting from too much water.
So what's our final?
So maybe, yeah, like you said, maybe get it out of moss into something a little bit grittier, a little bit chunkier. If you want to keep it in no drainage, just give it more air and maybe let it dry out in between waterings a bit more.
And then in terms of the humidity, it might have too much humidity.
Oh yeah, that's right, 65 to 75.
Because 75 is pretty high, but it's not in a greenhouse, right? It's just,
no, it's in a window, so that might be like the humidity that they get where they are.
So high.
There are people like who live in Florida who watch our videos.
Wow. Can't relate.
Can't relate.
It's like 30% on a good day at my house.
Well, yeah, what does mine say right now? Mine says...
I feel like yours is way higher than mine.
It is probably a little higher. It says 43 right now.
Yeah, that's high.
Yeah, I think it's probably a fungal issue. Maybe just because you are already quite humid, maybe reduce the amount of moisture in the substrate and how dense that medium is.
Yeah.
Hope that helps. XOXO, Alvin and Chandler. Next one. This is the one I need your help on. So this is a glorious, because both you and Charmaine grow your glorious so well.
Oh, you're sweet. You're a sweetheart. Wow, she's really hyping you up. Insert photo of Alice's.
We just had this conversation in Charmaine's video where we said that like she's so much better at growing climbing plants than I am. And that was supposedly my New Year's resolution, but
I was gonna say she tried, but she didn't.
I didn't even try.
She didn't try. She did not try.
I did not try one bit. So thank you, but I don't. I grow gloriosum better
like a
than
beast.
glorious. He's looked rough for a while, but we used to be on great terms. I believe I repotted him 3 times in a month, but I can't remember the order. So that's a lot of times repotting in a month. I believe the first one was a normal repotting into a no drainage vessel, but I felt like the soil was too dense, so I repotted it and checked for root rot, and the roots were fine, and I changed it into a vessel I like more. When he was pushing the 3rd, now 2nd oldest leaf, the oldest leaf started to yellow in a way that made me think it was overwatering, so I unpotted it. There was no root rot that time either, but I felt like the soil was still too dense, so I repotted it into a chunkier mix. So it went like chunkier and chunkier each time. Then they started getting these discolorations on the leaves, which again feels like overwatering, but I decided against repotting it to prevent any more stress on the plant. Thankfully, it hasn't worsened or isn't worsening rapidly after that. The 2nd oldest leaf also has a wonky shape, but that's because I messed with it in the caterpillar. later on, though, it started to get a bit discolored as well, albeit less than what's now the oldest leaf. So the newest leaf is now discoloring. Then it took a while to push out a new leaf, and when the sheath was open enough for me to investigate, I saw that the leaf had rotted into pieces. That's the decapitated petiole that you see in the picture of the plants of the plant stock. Now, I was able to get a new leaf from it, but it's hella distorted for some reason. I know that the issue is something regarding the watering of this plant, but I've already repotted it in the chunkiest mix I've ever made, and it's never rotted roots even today. This is long. I could see that there's roots growing from the moss pole into the substrate, so I think it's doing well root-wise. It's just in the leaves where the issues show up. The water in the reservoir is also more than a week old, and I haven't topped it up since. I thought this plant was a thirsty motherfucker and prone to dry rot, but now I'm questioning everything. Should I give him a dry period between each watering? I would love to know your thoughts. So substrate is a pumice layer, thin layer of sphagnum for wicking, homemade chunky aroid mix comprised of pumice, larger grains of cocoa peat, some charcoal, coconut chunks. Watering habits used to be once every week, topping the reservoir up to where it meets the sphagnum moss. The more problems I encountered with it, the less I topped out the reservoir, and now I haven't watered it in more than a week. Lighting conditions used to be low-medium. A few days after the newest leaf rotted in the sheath, one of my lights broke and I was forced to keep it outside. Cold outdoor temperatures are not an issue because I live in a tropical/subtropical climate. It got better lights outdoors compared to inside. He now has an actual grow light, and it's not super close to the grow light. Humidity never measured because they live in a humid climate. Fertilizer, Miracle Grow diluted to 1/3 instead of the half recommended dilution. Okay.
Yeah.
So usually when a leaf rots in the sheath, for me, it's like root rot or pests.
Well, I will say that it's doing the thing that mine does, which is push out extra floral nectaries, because I can see the burn through the leaves. And with the EFN, I have noticed that where it's getting EFN, it'll start to discolor as well with the yellow. I wonder if I have a photo that I might be able to send you a photo of mine that's kind of similar to this. My suggestion, I mean, it does look like the roots are healthy, but I'm a little bit hesitant about the sphagnum layer between the, like, your cocoa peat layer and then the pumice. If anything, I would do more sphagnum on top, because your, like, the cocoa chunks and the cocoa peat, it's gonna wick things up anyway, whereas this sphagnum layer, it might be like a little too dense and retain too much water almost. But I mean, your roots are healthy.
Yeah.
I will just say that with my Glorious, the best that I was able to keep the leaves is when I was regularly showering it, which was such a pain in the butt, because I found that it's so EFN heavy, and when that EFN comes through, it kind of makes the entire leaf look like crap. It's not just the burn, it's the discoloration as well. And I was growing my Glorious with drainage holes, so I can't even say that it was like a, you know,
drying out kind of thing.
Yeah, it was with drainage holes, it was on a pole and everything. And then this person mentioned that, like, there was still water at the bottom, but if you have roots up at the top, which I don't know, it doesn't really look like there's too many roots, because I was gonna say you have to factor in that the roots in the pole are also going to be taking in water, so that means that you will still have some left over.
But we're not sure how much roots are in the pole. Yeah,
and it doesn't look like there'd be many, because there's not many.
It looks like a new pole, right?
My recommendation, if I could make any recommendation, Huxley's here. I would say maybe not right away, but the next time that you do repot, I would switch up the sphagnum layer with the cocoa peat layer and put your cocoa peat on top of the pumice and then do sphagnum moss. And if you can, regular showers, which is so annoying. And if you can even hit it with a little bit of, like, fungicide spray, that might help you as well. Copper fungicide, you can, the one I use is just the Bonide brand, and that's the one I gave her too, so I think that's what you would be using, although she doesn't really use it that often.
Oh yeah, we were using Phyton 35 too.
Right. Yeah, Phyton 35. But it doesn't, like, the way that the leaves look, it doesn't strike me as anything that's super worrisome. And then in terms of the leaf rotting in the caterpillar, that could be, from a lot of things. Not enough light I've found that they can rot in the caterpillar, like if you change the lighting conditions too much. And I think this person said there was like issues with the light, right?
Yeah, because like low medium, maybe the low medium wasn't enough for the glorious, and maybe like it was getting, you know, it was a sudden change to quite bright being outside. Like if it's outside, it's already like 10 times higher than anywhere inside.
Yeah. And then also keep in mind that like every time you repot a plant or like change up the environment, it's gonna go through a certain level of adjustment. So sometimes it just takes sort of going through like a painful growing pain period where you have ugly leaves or you have leaves that look just, they're not forming right.
Yeah. Do you think that a rotting leaf could be the plant aborting that leaf in favor of root growth? Would it rot like that? I think so, right?
Because it just kind of like moves like its nutrients to a different area,
and it's like encased in this like very high moisture sheath.
So I want to assume that some of the issues are just purely from being stressed, repotting and
yeah. So maybe don't repot it, because it's quite a resilient plant. So it's not going to be like a very specific medium that it will survive in.
Yeah.
Just maybe be a bit patient, double, triple check for pests. Yeah. And then like wipe that EFN. Would you say anything else?
And then fungicide, if you can use some fungicide.
Right.
Because if you can kind of slow down the EFN, I just find that it helps the glorious so much cosmetically. Yeah. It's just hard to maintain, especially since they get big so fast.
But also like when it's in high humidity, it tends not to throw as much EFN if it's not hit with pests, right?
When my glorious was growing in my tent, it wasn't pushing out nearly as much as much EFN as it did once I had to take it out. That's for sure. So I tried to compensate with more showers.
You just double check.
Delivery? Pervert? Oh no, I'm scared. I'm so sleepy from that hot dog. Oh, mealybugs. I don't think this one has mealybugs. Look how big this leaf is. So beautiful. Oh, my contacts rotated. Dang it. Probably should have washed my hands first. Who was that?
That was my neighbor. It was so cute.
Yeah.
He just like dropped by to ask when we're flying out. He's like, "Can I drive you to the airport?" It was so cute.
No way.
Yeah. My neighborhood is so nice.
Opposite of mine.
I know your neighbors are mean.
They're so mean.
we finished. Oh, yeah, I think we're in the middle of a thought.
I finished it.
Okay, by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'm holding this video down.
Next one. Ooh. Okay. Anthurium besseae app.
Oh, there's your problem.
Yeah. Imported from Ecuagenera last May. So a year ago. Acclimated in a storage bin, moved to room conditions at the end of summer. It has struggled since May. Wait, May of last year or May of this year?
Maybe this year? Or maybe since she got it?
Maybe. Recently suffered some root rot, so I cleaned up the dead roots and transferred from leca to this mix, which is mixture of astroperlite and leca with a dash of pon, dressed with moss. Watering in semi-hydro, so I keep a reservoir about 1 inch. Water whenever there's no more water, usually 10 to 14 days, kind of inconsistent. Light right under a 2-foot 10-watt Barina T5, 14 hours a day.
Oh,
so
that's a lot of light.
Yeah. Humidity ranges from 35 to 60. Temperature ranges from 23 to 33 degrees Celsius.
3?
23 to 33.
Oh, I was like 3?
So that's hot. That's warm.
Yeah, that's super hot.
Fed every watering of General Hydroponics Trio, Flora Nova Grow, CalMag, and Diablo Push. So CalMag's the only one we have experience with that one. Diluted by about 20% from bottle ratios, so like 80% of the recommended dilution. New leaves come out decently nice at first, but then begins to curl and crisp as it hardens. So that's the photo.
Oh.
I don't really see roots. So maybe it's still working on roots since being trimmed.
Yeah.
That's the
and
new
the
leaf.
new leaves are, and it's weird because like usually you would see a leaf like that and you're like, oh, it probably needs CalMag, but obviously
it gets CalMag. Yeah. Okay, so first off, let's establish one fact.
One fact.
Besseae ass kind of a bitch.
We should call them Besseae ass.
Oh, burn.
Burn! Sick burn, dude.
I have one. You have one. Did it die?
Both of them. I had two, and they both died.
Like actually died, or you gave up?
No, they died.
Oh, okay. And then both of them were grown out of a greenhouse?
One inside, one outside.
So the one inside would never left the greenhouse. And what did it die of?
Wish I should submit it to you. I don't know.
No, what did yours die of?
No, I should submit
it for you don't remember?
I don't know. I don't know why it died. I think it just like turned to mush. Like the stem just turned to mush.
And then the second one, how did it die?
Probably thrips and just root rot.
Okay. Mine seemed to do quite well, and I was like, oh, what an easy Anthurium. That one was in an exo, and then I moved it out onto like my open shelving in my plant room, and then ever since then it was like it crisped up and it didn't like the light. I didn't like highlight, and I didn't like lower light. Every leaf is like crispy, it's wonky, it's a helicopter. So I just ended up chopping off all the ugly leaves and just letting it be a one leaf plant. It just pushed a leaf. I'm gonna put in the photo or video, whatever I decide to do here. This is the best leaf that's grown since moving it out of a greenhouse. And that's just like, I guess, what I assume is one step closer to acclimating down to lower humidity, because I do think this is like an Anthurium that needs higher humidity. So the fact that this person's humidity is on the lower side, 35 to 60, and then temperature is high, and that's like for an Anthurium like this that really likes humidity, that's just like an oven, I think.
Yeah, I think the only suggestion I would have for this whole thing, because obviously I have no experience in growing Besseae AF successfully, I would just say lower those temperatures if you can.
Or increase the humidity.
Increase humidity. Well, I even think it would do well in lower temperatures, because that's pretty hot, 30.
It is pretty hot, but I think like the shop is so hot.
That's true.
But it's super humid. And the
so
Anthuriums
yeah,
are really...
I guess if you can increase humidity, then the lighting, or then the temperatures are fine. But if you can't, then try and drop temperatures a little bit.
Yeah, like I think dry and hot is like for a lot of Anthuriums,
that
like
was my plant room.
Yeah. It's really hard on them. Just not saying like eventually it won't acclimate.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought that was Huxley. Eventually it might acclimate. Like my Besseae, I think, starting to get used to it, but it took a little while, and it is kind of a thirsty one. I'm filling up its reservoir like every 5 days.
Jeez Louise.
It's not really a joy to grow, I will say.
Which is why I don't have one anymore and have not wanted to acquire another one. It was too stressful for me.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be like a crystallinum or something, but it's a little bit finickier, I think. It's not a nightmare like a debile, but it is not as easy. I would probably say it's like on par with like a Waraquinum in terms of like finickiness, or like not being easy across the board.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are easy ones out there, but not for us.
Not for us.
So try to increase the humidity or lower the temperature.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are Alocasia. So one full plant and 2 corms planted in DIY pond. Today I found webbings that look like this. They look like fine webs that envelop the top of the pot. I cleared the top off because it was disturbing to me, but I was able to take photos of the leftovers to ask you, is this spider mites? If it is, can neem oil help? If it's not, what is it? Do I have to repot? This is a daunting thought for me because the plants have just taken root in the substrate. Here, the fuzz here.
Oh.
We were just talking about this in your video.
That's harmless mold.
So it's mold. It's not going to really damage your plant, although like if it completely takes over, then maybe.
It's just, it's just annoying. It's I've never really allowed it to get to a point where it just like takes over the whole thing. Like usually if I see it, I try and nip it in the bud and get it. But I'm not really having those issues anymore since using Myco. Yeah,
so that's what we were talking about in her video. This happens often in semi-hydro because there's always moisture, and then mold will grow where there's moisture, where there's warmth, wherever we're growing plants. And it can usually be remedied by airflow. However, I know there are people who like put fans and like it still happens. One thing we have noticed, and I never really took much notice of this until now, that we don't get that moldy fuzz anymore since using myco. And we don't use fans, and we grow in enclosed greenhouses with some airflow, but not a ton of airflow, air exchange. I can only assume that it's like beneficial fungi out competing the like non-beneficial molds and fungi.
And I think one testament to that are my prop boxes. So I have one prop box that's like a moss bin, and then I've got like my sticks and small plants in there that are all growing in this moss. And then I have another prop box that are potted plants that have myco in them. They're like actual potted plants. I've used some kind of TPS or great white. And my prop box that doesn't use TPS because they're just props, I do get the mold on it, but
on
not
the moss or on the plant.
On the moss.
Okay.
And a little bit on the plants too, but not in my prop box that are just potted plants with myco.
Right. Usually I find if I see mold on a chunk or propagation, it's almost certainly stem rot. Which is like probably not the case for this person because it's like on the substrate.
Yeah.
But if I see mold on a plant, that means it's like rotting.
Because it feeds off like decaying matter.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not going to be like present on. Well, and not never, but it usually is not present on like live tissue.
Something that I would suggest if you are using myco and you're still having that issue.
You look so small.
I know. I'm so comfy. If you are using myco and you're still having that issue, what I've done in the past is do an 80-20
hydrogen peroxide?
Alcohol, actually.
Alcohol, okay.
I've done the hydrogen peroxide thing. It's kind of a hit or miss whether it works, but I have more luck using the alcohol. You can even do 90-10 if you're worried. Don't water the plant. Just put it in a very, very like fine misting spray bottle. Just mist that top layer and leave it. And then try and give it a little bit of airflow, but that's always helped me for a quick fix. Hydrogen peroxide, have done it in the past, but it's kind of taken more treatments, whereas like I feel like the alcohol just like wipes it out.
But I really have not even like realized that I'm not dealing with mold anymore for the past few years.
Yeah.
Because I saw another post like this on Facebook this morning.
Oh.
And then they were like, they mentioned myco, and I was like, oh yeah, I have not been like experiencing this for the longest time.
I used to have that issue a lot, sorry. Especially in my exos. I would have that issue.
Yeah.
And it would even grow like sometimes on the moss poles.
I would sometimes get it on this shelf, like on my leca.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too actually, on leca.
So this one is just a series of seedlings that aren't looking the best. Okay, so I think this is the newest leaf, right?
Yeah, because I can see the...
This is either oldest or second oldest leaf that has that yellowing. That leaf is just on its way out. I don't really see anything wrong with this one. I mean, it's a little bit chlorotic. Tiny bit, like the mildly chlorotic. For me, the chlorosis could be a deficiency of magnesium, which CalMag should be able to fix. Historically, for me, it also has been a bit of root rot.
Or even a watering thing. I have to ask, because I can see that it's in stratum. Stratum dries out so freaking fast if it's not in like an enclosed...
Yeah, and it kind of looks like it's in a box.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever like kind of allowed it to go a period without water, or if like, you know, you kind of forgot to top up water. I've noticed that my plants, my seedlings and my corms in stratum, the second that it goes dry, the plant is just, it takes a beating.
But also seedlings like to be swampier than like more juvenile to adult anthuriums.
Yeah. You'd kind of think it's the opposite because their like roots are so fine, but the second that it goes dry, it's toast.
Because it's like not that many leaves to be already dropping leaves at this age, so maybe it's not getting enough water, and then maybe a little bit nutrient deficient. I don't know. They didn't say feeding habits and what they're feeding the seedlings. The general consensus, and I don't grow that many anthuriums from seed, so I don't have a wealth of knowledge to go on, but growers like I look up to on Facebook do say like after the first or second leaf you can start to lightly feed your seedlings.
I didn't really feed mine when they were super tiny. It wasn't until I could see a bit of actual stem that I was like, okay, I think I could start feeding now.
This guy was an aroid mix in no drainage, had white but almost translucent firm roots. Both of its leaves were looking like the one in the pic, so a couple days ago I took it out and planted moss, plucked off the older leaf.
Translucent
to me means like on the way out, like dying roots. I've had that before on a seedling and it died because the roots died.
I think something worth mentioning too is that all seedlings are not created equally.
That's true. So buying plants from seed means that you might be the ones that get like the runt, the weak seeds, and it might not be you.
Yeah.
It might just be a weak seed.
Yeah, because I mean, we've both grown from seed before, and you know, I was working with hundreds of seeds. She had maybe how many?
I think I had like 18 or something.
Yeah, and like there was a very, very noticeable difference between all of the different seeds. I only, out of hundreds of seeds or seedlings, I probably only had like 10 strong ones, which is crazy. The rest just grew like crap. They kept dying, they kept rotting, and they were getting all the same exact conditions. I threw most of those out because I would not want to sell that or give it to anyone because it's just really stressful. So yeah, when people sell seedlings, it's a gamble. If you're gonna buy it as a plant that young, the seller can't guarantee you, oh, this is a good seedling. It takes time to know which ones are the stronger ones.
Yeah, that's true. Because mine was bred with a very weak mother, like young and freshly imported. So the seedlings stayed small for a really long time.
Yeah.
So it might not be you. If you're not already feeding, I would go ahead and start feeding like a very diluted amount at this point, especially if you're seeing chlorosis with healthy root formation, then that might be magnesium deficiency. Also, if you're not getting it under quite high light, I think the seedlings need a bit more light than the more grown anthuriums.
You could even try foliar feeding as well.
Yeah. Okay, and then this last one is the chlorosis.
Ooh, that's a pretty one.
I know, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah, this one doesn't look bad, but maybe just if you can double check for root rot, then do. And then if you're not already feeding CalMag, because I feel like they wouldn't bring up CalMag deficiency if they were already feeding CalMag, right? So wouldn't hurt to do it. Just go light on it.
Very, very light.
Okay, this next one is a forgetii.
This is a you question.
I have a forgetii that's in a clear vase, mostly sphagnum with a bit of perlite, and the roots will not stop growing a bit and then rotting. I tried to water when it's dry, quarter to halfway down the vessel, and it's on a heat mat in my IKEA Millsbo. Humidity is about 50 to 60%. Temperatures are between 22 to 25, getting up to 28 on hotter days. First question is, if 22 to 25, getting up to 28 degrees, but probably what the plant is getting is even higher because it's on a heat mat.
Yes.
But like the ambient temperature is slightly lower. So this is the medium.
Roots look good.
They look dried.
Oh, yeah. I can see a bit of dry.
Yeah.
These ones look okay, but some...
Yeah. The moss itself looks quite dry. This, to me, looks like dry rot. It looks like there's added Osmocote here. Oh, yeah. Right? It looks like it's just at the top. That doesn't look like wet rot to me. It looks like dry rot. Yeah, that looks like dry rot
to me. I think that some people are scared to like thoroughly water when they have a plant in moss, especially in no drainage. I would say don't be scared. We honestly water our moss plants like we do pretty much our normal plants. Like we don't like just go in with like a spray bottle or like a little squeeze bottle and just put a little bit. Like you still want to make sure that the moss is getting saturated, but you don't want it to be like sopping wet. Like, don't be scared.
Unless it's getting a ton of light.
Yeah. But like one of the worst things you can do is let an Anthurium go dry in moss. That's like the worst recipe.
There's dry, and then like the moss, like once it's dry, it like sucks out even more moisture from whatever the root had.
There's dry, and then there's moss dry.
That's like dry.
And Anthuriums hate that from my experience.
And I think actually the heat mat, I would probably get it off a heat mat. Yeah. I don't think, unless you're germinating seeds, or your like house is super cold and it's wintertime, I don't see a need for heat mats. I don't think the forgetii really likes it, because what I think happened is that like the heat mat caused the substrate to dry out and evaporate quicker. It sucked out all the moisture from the roots. I don't think that's enough Osmocote to give it burn.
Yeah.
However, like we got a little bit Osmocote scared and stopped using it because it fried a lot of our roots, and that basically made it a rootless plant. They just kind of like dried up and died, or at least mine did. So this leaf that crisped up looks like dehydration from
it looks like a water thing.
Yeah, because it doesn't have live roots anymore.
I would say, and especially because the moss is so heavily amended, that it would even dry out faster than just moss.
Just moss by itself.
Just moss would. So I would say, I think we would handle it the same way. Get it out of there, do some root trimming, and kind of start over. Just work with, if there are any good roots on it, just keep those. But remove the heat mat.
I would assume it's going to be pretty much just a chunk. If you were to remove all those dead roots, I would probably just get it into like perlite or pond and just rehab it off of a heat mat.
Yeah.
And it should grow back pretty fast. I think forgetis grow one of the fastest of this type of Anthurium.
I've actually had really, really good rerooting in water with Anthurium.
Yeah.
Amanda does too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, for me it's been a great experience using water.
But if it doesn't have any leaves, would you still do it?
I've done it with a leafless.
Just a chunk? Interesting.
The only thing that I've noticed that didn't work for me with a leafless Anthurium chunk is tree fern fiber.
That didn't work ever?
It just didn't work for me.
Oh.
And when I did that video, Amanda was like, I don't know about that. She's like, I don't.
Well, why not though? I don't
know.
Because like we know moss works.
It does.
Why wouldn't tree fern work?
I have no idea.
Interesting. Hopefully this leaf, holds on long enough for it to push another leaf.
Yeah, I would say obviously remove the other leaf, but leave this trooper on there.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe just lower the temperatures.
Yeah.
This one's not the easiest one. Okay. Potato radiatum. So it's in leca with moss on top. The roots are healthy, and that's pretty much all the information I got.
Okay.
So it's in a cup with like holes drilled in. Leca, these roots are huge.
Dang.
Moss on top. So this is the leaf that they grew, which is quite healthy with like a tiny bit of crisping.
Yeah.
But the old leaves look like crap.
Oh yeah.
Which was not grown in their care.
It's hard to say if it wasn't grown in their care. Why? But then it's continued to kind of do the yellowing.
Oh wait, no. The first two it came with. The last two under his care. So this one and this one under his care.
It's hard to say without knowing the conditions, but just by looking at it,
looks like dehydration.
Yeah, like not a thorough water.
Or moving from high to low humidity.
Yeah, because like there's a little bit of the bleeding of the yellow, which I'm assuming that it starts that way and then it turns this brown color, maybe?
Yeah, I assume so too. And it's kind of a thin-leafed Anthurium too. So if it's used to high humidity, I would assume that it would lose a lot of moisture in the leaves very quickly when it moves to a drier conditions, but it doesn't say if it's grown in a greenhouse or not.
I mean, is it like in another cup? Because there's holes.
Oh yes, it's like a 3D printed like cup that's made to hold like a coffee cup like that.
Okay, well, assuming that the reserve never ran out, like it always had water, then I guess we can rule out that it's not a watering thing. But I don't know. Usually, when you see Anthuriums go crispy at the tips like that, to me, it's a water loss. Yeah,
but through where? Through leaves or from the roots?
That's a tough one.
That one is a little bit tough because we don't grow this plant either. But I grew it to the extent that like I've helped water it at the shop. And, I don't think of it as a high humidity one, but it
could be.
If it came from those conditions, then it would take some time to acclimate down. So I would venture guess that maybe it got a little dried out.
Yeah.
at some point.
And maybe just going through the growing pains of going from one environment to another. I don't really know. I'm just gonna say uneducated guess.
Maybe a bit more frequent watering from now on.
Or like always make sure that there's some water for it to pull from. Like don't let any dry periods.
Yeah, because those roots at the bottom should be able to sit in
water.
A little bit of water at least.
Be more consistent with your watering first and kind of see if that helps, and allow it to kind of go through it a little bit. It takes some plants a really long time to kind of adjust to a new sort of
but this one looks
environment.
Weird. It doesn't look like a potato radiata. It looks like it's like hybridized with something else.
Yeah, this doesn't look like a pure, and like the leaves are so rounded.
It's not pointy.
Yeah, it's not pointy.
It's a strange one.
Interesting.
Kind of reminds me of a fig leaf in a way.
Yeah.
And then once it pushes the next leaf, what I would do just for my own sanity is just cut all those ugly leaves off so I don't have to look at them anymore.
I'd probably just do it now.
I know, I feel like this one leaf can probably sustain it.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's got a good root system.
Yeah, I would chop off the other ones.
A Nigrolaminum GG. I watch you and Charmaine often, and my small and thriving collection is a testament to advice gleaned from both of your videos. You're so nice. I am now growing in soil and tree fern perlite because of it and having great success.
Slay, queen. Slay.
This plant I rescued from soil, and in desperation I placed it in leca. Okay, soil to leca. It has thrived in leca. However, it is now getting some brown edges and tips, and though it might be related to watering, it might also be time to move it, and I have no clue if I should keep the leca or go to tree fern combo, like with the soil. So it's a very small amount of browning. It looks pretty good, honestly.
That looks great.
We asked for sad plant photos.
Yeah, girl.
So there's that.
Girl bossing. Okay.
And the
Those
roots look
are
good.
bomb.
However, there is a rotten root here.
And here too.
And here, yeah.
But it doesn't mean that,
It doesn't mean that
you need to like do anything right away.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what caused the browning, especially in the GG, because those leaves are thick.
So thick.
Really thick. I have this on my original GG, and that is, I know for a fact, from underwatering. Like, it was bone dry. And it took a little while for it to show up on the plant because, like I said, it's so thick and leathery. So there's nothing on the newest leaf.
Yeah. And it looks like the one that's browning might be one of the older ones. So it could just be like...
And it's really only at the tip.
Yeah.
A little bit.
On the edges.
Yeah, on the edge. This looks like it just ran out of water at one point.
Yeah.
And this person lives in Florida, so humid, very hot.
Cause yeah, I guess someone asked me a question before, like when you see crispy edges on an Anthurium, like why is it automatically like a watering thing and why is it not a humidity thing? But I think if you think about the plant itself and like the venation and how it interacts with like the roots, right? You water, the water comes up, travels through the stem, whatever, and it has to go through the entire leaf, like all of like the little veins. And so if you think about it, where it's gonna crisp up first are the ones where it's like the furthest away, especially if it's a huge leaf. Like it has to travel all the way down, and that's why you see when you overwater or whatever, it pushes out of the edges.
It's like when your circulation is bad, you get numbness in your like extremities,
Yeah, I guess that's why we're kind of thinking that it's a like maybe you
underwatered,
like even if it was one time.
But also at the same time, if your heart wants to put it in the tree fern soil combo, and like I would say the root system can probably withstand that kind of repot, and it's a pretty hardy plant. Well, except for that one that you imported, but then the other one is good, right?
Yeah, it's fine. That was my third try, I think.
Second try? No? Oh no,
got
third
one.
try. Oh, you got two from Amanda. Oh, okay. But like in terms of watering, it's pretty forgiving, I think.
And I think that if you do want to do the tree fern fiber combo, you can do leca down at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Since you already have like watery leca roots, that'll be a better transition.
If you're gonna stay with no drainage, I would actually say we definitely should put the leca at the bottom. That might be a good call, because personally I would want the opportunity to just snip off those dead roots anyways.
Get it cleaned up.
Yeah, because leca is so easy. It's just like it's such a fast repot.
Yeah. But overall, I think your plant looks actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
She's huge. That new leaf is so delicious.
You know,
You look like a bunny.
It's so tall.
Cute.
And I like how close together those leaves are. Last one.
Whoa.
Anthurium regale.
Oh.
My trypophobia.
No, honestly, like, oh my god. Yeah.
This is my Anthurium regale, and it's on the struggle bus. I'm not sure where I went wrong. It's currently potted in pond in a self-watering pot. The rest of my anthuriums are happy and thriving. I also water it once a week or when the substrate seems dry, and the humidity is between 50 to 60% with natural sun from the window and grow lights that run 12 to 14 hours a day.
I don't like looking at it. I'm sorry. Not to be disrespectful. If it was my plant, I'd just chop that thing off.
Yeah. Regale is not known to be an easy plant anyways. It's one of those ones that they like high humidity and need to be transitioned slowly to lower humidity. Like JR's regale is humongous and is growing in his living room, but I don't think it always grew there, and it took a long time for it to get established there. So it looks like a one leaf, sorry, you don't have to look at it. It looks like a one leaf plant.
Now that I think about it, when's the last time that you have seen like a bushy regale?
That's true.
Like I feel like they're like those leaves, they don't last
even
very
those like
long.
crazy people that grow them really well in like the tropics, I only see them grow huge ones with like 2 leaves, 3 leaves.
Yeah, I don't even remember the last time I've seen a photo on Instagram and I'm like, damn, that's a humongous bushy regale.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this was an import, and I want to say like when it has all over the leaf blade these like dry spots.
To me, that's not really a watering thing. I think that could be a humidity thing.
But it's low humidity. But why would it go right in the middle? Like to me, I thought it would be like a fungal or edema thing.
Well, here's the thing. It could be fungal and it's just like, you know, crisping up now.
But it's like out in the open. I also wonder if maybe they acclimated it in like a bin or a bag or something like that.
Yeah, like if it wasn't a bin, because the splotchiness of it, I can't look at it anymore. The splotchiness of it just screams fungal to me. I was having those issues when I was growing Anthurium in greenhouses, high humidity greenhouses, and once I removed it from those conditions, I stopped getting them altogether. But also keep in mind, like she said, regales just, I find them to be not an easy Anthurium to grow, which is why I do not own one.
I've had a few in the past and I find them to be thirsty. Like they just need a lot of water. When they dry out, it goes downhill real fast.
Like not very forgiving.
No, and like it may be that this is like a newer import and it looks so bad compared to other new imports of Anthuriums, because maybe I'm just guessing that it lost some roots and then like this giant leaf just like threw a fit in protest. Maybe I would water it like a little bit ahead of time. Just like not when it seems dry, but when it's like approaching dry.
Yeah, like kind of always make sure there's a little bit of like humidity in the vessel and don't let it get bone dry. Yeah,
and I don't know if you're feeding the plant. I've had a crystallinum go like not just like this, but somewhat similar, and I know that was from like fertilizer burn. So just maybe if you are feeding, just double check that you're not feeding like even full strength.
Especially for a plant that's just kind of trying to figure itself out. I think there's a misconception sometimes that like fertilizer helps rehab plants because it like makes them stronger, when actually you can do more damage that way with rehab plants. Usually my rule of thumb is if a plant is rehabbing, I'm usually not even fertilizing it.
Yeah, just myco
and let it sort itself out, and then once I see new growth, then I'll get back with the fertilizing.
And I would also fertilize in proportion to the size of its root system.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't have much to begin with, then like little to no fertilizer until it gets a little bit more established. Yeah, hope that's
I would
helpful.
Honestly chop that leaf off
and just put it in a prop box. Regale's getting slow though when it's leafless. It's gonna take like a year.
I know.
It's gonna take so long.
I'm so sorry, but I just wouldn't want to look at that all the time and just be sad.
Because it's so big.
I know.
That's the thing.
But as long as you've got a healthy chunk.
But it might push a new leaf faster if this was still on the plant.
True. But I don't know if it's different with my glorious. It woke up once I chopped those leaves off. Literally 2 days after. I had a dormant glorious, dormant rehab glorious. Months and months. Amanda said, chop those leaves off. And I was like, okay. Chopped it off 2 days later.
You chopped it off to like leafless?
Yeah, leafless.
Oh.
Cut the petioles off. 2 days later.
Why was it dormant?
I don't know.
Weird.
Well, she said she thinks that the plant is using too much energy maintaining those huge leaves. Because they were big. The leaves were like
how were the roots
big,
at that point?
super healthy. And
the heck?
Yeah, as soon as I chopped the leaves off, the caterpillar started swelling 2 days later. And then I got that big old leaf. And now it's like a big 3-leaf plant. It just came out of dormancy. I think
regale, I know.
Don't ask me about a regale.
Experience.
Don't ask me about a regale.
Yeah, everybody said like it takes a long time. Like if you propagate regale, just like wait a year and then it'll sprout a leaf. So personally, I would try to like write out that ugly leaf and like let it grow another leaf, and then immediately cut that leaf off once it pushes something else.
Turn around, let it face the window.
Yeah.
I'm going to now.
Banish it to another room.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at me.
Oh, poor baby.
I don't like it.
Well, that was easy. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. I will surely enjoy editing an easy one. We also filmed a video earlier today, which is on Charmaine's channel. I will link that in the description. We just have a nice chit chat, couch time, answering some like very juicy questions that you guys sent, like some hard-hitting questions.
I know. So they were like juicy friendship questions, personal questions, and then some plant
juicy
questions.
Juicy plant questions. A little bit.
There was like one juicy plant question.
Was there only one? No, there was a couple.
Well,
we interpreted it in a juicy way.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to film that one. So make sure you give that a watch if you haven't already. It will already be up by the time this video goes up. We're gonna go eat noodles now. I'm very excited to get the heck out of Vancouver.
She's needed a vacation for
5 years.
Too long. My goodness.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. So don't forget to like this video if you liked it.
And don't forget to subscribe to Charmaine if you haven't already. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. We will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.